Hi, welcome back to the Astrophotography Playground. I'm Jason. I'm looking forward to showing you around. Let's say you want to dabble in astrophotography yourself, but let's face it, it's a little overwhelming at first. There's so much to learn, you're not sure if you have the right equipment or even how to use it, and you just don't know where to start. Well, let's use the playground, giving you the ability to play with all of these parameters and see what works for you. You'll notice up top we have the image framing, capture, and enhancement tabs, and those roughly correlate to having the right equipment, setting it up correctly, and then knowing how to process those images once you get them off the camera. One other thing I do want to show you, which will help gauge your progress or the difficulty of the target, it's good to know that the brighter the target is, generally the easier it's going to be to photograph. So, for example, the Orion Nebula has a relative brightness set somewhat arbitrarily at 1. Now, if I go to a different, brighter target, such as the Moon, considerably more than that, 200,000. Let me zoom in a little bit just for fun. On the other hand, if I choose a more faint target, such as the Helix Nebula, now we're down at 0.02. So you can see there's a vast difference in brightness of various targets. We are going to start with a moderately easy target, and that is the Dumbbell Nebula. It has a relative brightness of 0.14. So the first thing we are going to do is set our focal length to get a little bit closer. That's a great start here. And I'm going to jump right into the camera settings. Okay, it finished loading. We are ready. If I had a very short exposure time, you might expect that the image does get less bright. Now, I can always turn up my camera ISO, a common setting on DSLR cameras, and you can see hopefully that there's a fair amount of background noise. There are two ways to mitigate that noise. And the reason we have that noise is because we have very little signal over just a few seconds of exposure time. I can either take multiple frames, down here the number of averages, and I can average. And you can see with a higher number of averages, the noise goes down. The other thing I can do is increase my exposure time. If I do that, of course, now the image is too bright. I need to turn down my ISO. And we can see that the noise has in fact reduced when we go with longer exposure time. So either of those tools are at our disposal. We generally want as long of an exposure time as reasonably possible within the limits of our tracking ability and our mount. Another factor that will affect your ability to get good images is the level of light pollution. From dark skies, this target is very easy. From suburban or even city, we are going to have to turn down our ISO because things are just too bright. In fact, here's a little tip I do want to show you, and that is when it comes to displaying these raw images, anything that's white is as bright as it's going to get in terms of the capability of our camera. So that means that we go into processing, if it's white, it's clipped. We can't do anything more with that. However, black is not the bottom, because if we shoot raw images, our camera generally has much more data that can be displayed by our display. So it is okay to lower the ISO to have a relatively dark image, and we can pull that out back in processing, which we do as we go to enhancement. The first thing I'm going to do is brighten that image back up because the data is there. We just couldn't see it. The next thing I'm going to do is remove some of the background haze from light pollution with a process called gradient removal. And I can take out a little or more. It's really a matter of preference. In fact, this is often very iterative in that I will remove some light pollution, increase brightness, and keep at this iteratively until I get the results that I want. Now, let's say I want to brighten the image because I want to see some of the extremities of this target, which are very faint, but the inside is too bright. I can apply a method called histogram stretching, where I start to equalize those a little bit by lowering the intensity of the bright parts and helping boost the intensity of the more dim parts. Now I'm going to apply a little bit more gradient removal, and things are looking really good now. If I want to make the image a little bit more saturated to enhance those colors, I can. If I want to color balance to make it look a little bit more cool or warm, I also have that ability. So this is a real quick introduction of how to start at astrophotography, and I hope it helps on your next astro adventure. Until next time.